Hi, it's Katrina. My friend David is going to be helping me out with the voiceover today, so I hope you enjoy.
Number 10. Monnow Bridge. The Monnow Bridge in Great Britain was supposedly built by the devil. It's the only fortified bridge of its kind spanning a river, with its gate tower still intact in all of Great Britain. These things were common during the medieval days, when cities needed to fortify the entrances to their towns. But most have crumbled to dust. This bridge has been around since the Roman occupation, meaning 2,000 years ago. And although it has been destroyed in the past, it was always rebuilt. The Monnow Bridge standing today was constructed in 1272 to replace a wooden version. The bridge has always acted as a kind of barrier between England and Wales, located right on the border. According to legend, it was Jack of Kent who made a pact with the devil in the 13th century to build the bridge in a single night. It needed to be put up in a hurry, and so the devil got involved to make it happen. The only thing the devil wanted in return was the soul of the first passenger to cross the bridge. But then when the bridge was finished, Jack threw a bone across and a dog chased after it. All the devil got for his hard work was the soul of a mangy mutt. Number 9. The Devil's Pulpit. The Devil's Pulpit is a rock with a very nasty reputation. The rock was never technically built by anyone, yet it has a sinister connection to evil forces. It can be found in Finich Glen, located deep in the Scottish wilderness. Water the color of blood flows through the glen, a natural phenomenon that makes it look as though the river is being fed by an endless supply of dark red blood. The Devil's Pulpit is a rock shaped kind of like a mushroom, which you can see poking up through the crimson stream. It's believed this rock was used by the devil when he stood and addressed his followers during satanic ceremonies, with the blood-red water swirling around his feet. If you don't believe that, maybe you'll believe some of the other legends. It was said the Druids held secret meetings here thousands of years before the Christian devil ever existed. Some even say the rock is still used by witches today, whose ancestors used the stone as an execution block. Nobody knows the truth behind the mysterious rock. All we do know is that the bloody water is the result of red sandstone in the stream bed. It's like a never-ending supply of red dye. It just so happens that down in the gorge with the Devil's Pulpit, it's dark, creepy, and a perfect place for the forces of darkness to meet. And now for number 8. But first, it's shout-out time. Big thank you to Nick from NY for supporting this channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already for more videos like these. Number 8. Chakita Castle. Chakita Castle is a ruin, a sad shell of what it once was. The castle is in western Slovakia, built on a high hill looking over the Little Carpathians at a modest altitude of about 800 feet above sea level. Its rooms have been destroyed, its towers have mostly fallen down, and its walls are full of holes. The castle was built roughly 800 years ago to protect the western borders of Hungary. In 1273, the noble Slovak family of Hont Pazmany lived in the castle when it was besieged by the King of Bohemia, Ottokar II. But then the castle was rebuilt, used once again as a fortification, and new buildings were added. It became not just a castle, but a luxury accommodation. The part of the castle's history most people are interested in starts in 1569. That was when Ferenc Nadasdy became the owner of the castle alongside his wife Elizabeth Bathory. He gifted her the castle as a wedding gift. And if you know anything about the name Bathory, you'll know the castle became one of the most terrifying places in Europe. While Ferenc was away and Elizabeth was alone in the castle, she murdered a lot of people. She was arrested in 1610 and put on house arrest following accusations of murdering between 30 and 650 young girls. She didn't just murder them, but allegedly bathed in their blood. Elizabeth Bathory was so evil, many believe the devil himself had something to do with the construction of the castle. If not with its construction, then the devil at least somehow got into the bones of the structure. Because the way many people see it, nobody could do what Elizabeth did without some infernal influence. She slathered her servants in honey and then watched them be stung to death by bees and wasps. She buried some people alive, threw them in icy lakes, and other things even more heinous. It's probably a good thing that in the early 18th century, the castle was burnt down and never rebuilt. Would you ever stay the night in this creepy castle? Number 7. The Devil's Bridge. If there is one thing Europe has in abundance, it's ancient bridges. Most major European towns and cities were built around rivers, and so there are thousands and thousands of bridges across the continent. Many of these were purportedly built by the devil. One of the devil's bridges is called Rakotbrücke Bridge, located in Goblin, Germany. It's a fantastic piece of architecture, designed in such a way so that the mirror image reflected off the water makes it seem as though the bridge is forming a portal to another dimension. This was no accident. When it was commissioned in 1860 by a knight from the local town, he specifically asked that the bridge be built with a hump, forming a semicircle with the surface of the water. This created the portal effect he wanted, caused rumors to circulate that the bridge was built by the devil. The reason so many European bridges have an association with the devil is that people didn't really understand architecture, and certainly not engineering. When something seemed too miraculous to be true, people immediately thought it was built with the help of Satan. The fact that Rakotbrücke Bridge forms a creepy portal in a dense and ominous woodland didn't help it much. The bridge is still standing to this very day. However, nobody's allowed to cross it anymore because it's so frail it might break. If it was built by the devil, he didn't make it to last. Number 6. St. Mary's Church. The Church of St. Mary the Virgin in Clop Hill, England, may have been built specifically for the worship of the devil. Historical records show the church was likely built around 1350 AD. For a long time, nobody had any issues with the church. It wasn't until the 19th century that things started to get weird. In 1820, the church was supposed to be expanded because there weren't enough seats to fit the growing congregation. But before that was done, a new church was built in the center of the village instead because it seemed a little easier. The old church then became used as a mortuary chapel, a place to keep fresh corpses before they could be buried in the nearby cemetery. Then came the 20th century and the Satan-worshipping craze that swept across the West. The same thing was going on in England and America, with the supposed rise of devil-worshipping happening in churches. In the 1960s, the church started to take on a bad reputation. Graves were found desecrated, and there was evidence of unholy rites being practiced. That was when it came out the church wasn't even built properly. Most church altars are constructed facing east so that the altar faces the rising sun, associated with heaven. But the altar of the Church of St. Mary the Virgin faces east, pointing at the entrance to hell. Nobody knows exactly what happened when the church was built, but considering the strange situation with the altar, it's possible the church was built purposely to face the direction of hell. Do you think the church altar points east on purpose, or do you think it was a mistake? Number 5. The Devil's Tower. According to legend, the devil paid a visit to Chateau de Bonneval in the 11th century. The chateau is one of the oldest aristocratic homes in France. It's been a part of Bonneval family history for over 1,000 years. Documents trace the evidence of a structure here to the early part of the 11th century. That was when the castle was built, along with the feature called the Devil's Tower. According to legend, an earthquake shook the village shortly after the castle was built. One of the towers at the residence fell to the ground in pieces. Almost immediately after, a strange and mysterious traveler arrived at the castle and asked if he could spend the night. He was allowed to stay, and later told the lady of the house that he would fix the damaged tower in just 24 hours. But of course, there was a catch. The only way the stranger would repair the tower was if he could have the lady of the house's daughter as his wife. It seemed like such a preposterous deal that the lady accepted. Surely there was no way that a single man could repair a castle tower in one day. But he did repair the tower, and it did take less than a day. The stranger was about to be married when the priest took out a bottle of holy water and splashed some on the stranger and his soon-to-be bride. The very second the holy water touched the stranger, he hissed and spat out fire. It turned out he was the devil all along, just trying to get his hands on a Bonneval daughter. Ever since, the tower has been associated with the devil and his magic. Number 4. Yester Castle and the Goblin Hall. Sir Hugo de Giffard built the stone keep of Yester Castle around 1267 AD. Not much is known about the castle or its creator, other than that Hugo was an immigrant given land when Scotland was ruled by the legendary King David I. We also know Sir Hugo was allegedly a magician and a necromancer, and that with help from supernatural forces, he raised an army of goblins. The story is truly unbelievable, and yet it's been told for over 500 years. Beneath the ruins of the castle are the remnants of a place called Goblin Hall, a creepy undercroft where Sir Hugo supposedly practiced his sorcery. He was known to locals as the Wizard of Yester, and they were all very afraid of him apparently. Legend has it that his magic grew so strong that he made a pact with the devil through witchcraft. The devil helped him raise an army of hobgoblins, and together they constructed the unbreakable Yester Castle. In local lore, Sir Hugo is a dark wizard who ruled from his castle stronghold. In real history, we know very little about him. His castle was occupied by his ancestors until 1357, when suddenly there were no more male heirs. The castle then began to change hands, moving from family to family until it was abandoned altogether and allowed to decay. And now for number 3, but first it's shout-out time again. Big thank you to Paula Burnett for supporting this channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Origins Explained family. Number 3. Our Lady's Church. It was a common theme in medieval Europe for architects and engineers to have the devil do their bidding, then to trick the devil and get away with it. Another one of these tales comes from Our Lady's Church in Munich. According to legend, the builder was having a difficult time with the construction of the cathedral. He was left with no choice but to make a pact with the devil. Whether he had run out of funds or didn't have enough workers, he just couldn't get the cathedral done in time. And so, the devil stepped in to help. The devil provided the funding and workers needed to get the job done. The only condition was that the cathedral should have no windows, that way no divine light could enter. If the architect disobeyed this one instruction, his soul would forever burn in hell. When the church was finished, the devil came to inspect the building. He took one step into the church, looked around, and was furious that he couldn't see any windows. The architect was so brilliant that he had designed the windows to be hidden behind a massive altarpiece and cleverly placed internal columns. The devil left feeling defeated, not knowing that there were indeed windows. If he had walked a little deeper into the building, he would have seen that the builder's soul should have belonged to him. There is still a footprint at the entrance of the cathedral where the devil supposedly stood 600 years ago. Number 2. The Devil's Well. The Devil's Well in Caprarola, Italy, can be found inside the forest of Monte Venere. It's a protected primeval forest 1,600 feet, 488 meters above sea level. The Devil's Well isn't a man-made construct, but a volcanic cave that goes about 32 feet, 9.7 meters deep, and spans 130 feet, 40 meters underground. The cave is filled with shards of volcanic rock from what appears to have been a collapse tens of thousands of years ago. But there have been other things found in the cave as well, like pieces of pottery from the 5th century BC. Local legend says the cave was the result of Hercules smashing his club against the earth. Hercules hit the ground so hard that water sprang forth, forming the nearby lake. Another local legend says it was the devil who had something to do with the creation of the cave, hence the name. However, it's not really clear what the devil did. It could be that during medieval times, local Italians thought the cave was a portal to hell, put there by the devil to suck away people's souls. Number 1. The Valentine Bridge. The Valentine Bridge is a picturesque structure tucked away at the foot of the Cahors Cliffs in France. It was built in the 14th century between 1308 and 1378 and is visited by thousands of people every year. It is by far one of the most spectacular medieval bridges in Europe, with 6 massive arches spanning the Lot River. It looks almost brand new, and that's because of extensive restoration work in the 1800s. If the original Gothic architecture had been left alone, the whole thing would likely be in the river by now. But the bridge goes by another name, the Devil's Bridge. According to locals who have been telling the legend for generations, the architect of the bridge made a deal with the devil. The architect agreed to give his soul to the devil if the devil would use his skills to make the greatest bridge in France. Part of the agreement was that the devil had to obey all the architect's orders. Then once the bridge was complete, the architect began regretting his decision. In order to trick the devil, his final order was that the devil collect water for the workers using a sieve, an impossible task. It was a rude trick that broke the contract and saved the architect's soul. In revenge, the devil then had one of his demons steal the final stone in the central tower every night, so the bridge could never be completed. This missing stone really was missing and wasn't restored until 1879. Do you think the devil had a hand in the construction of one of these ancient structures? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and come back soon for more awesome stuff from the channel.